Alright, now that my power cable's finally back so that my crappy computer with its battery that doesn't work can actually run and I can record, I'm back with more videos. I'll give you at least 4 in this update, so hope you're happy. Anyway, first movie I'm going to be reviewing, as if you hadn't already known from the title that you clicked on, is Fast and Furious, along with the short film Los Bandeleros, which is directed by Vin Diesel. So, I've got to say, I actually kind of enjoyed it. I'm not saying that it's a masterpiece. I'm not even saying that it's the most fun blockbuster I've ever seen. Far from it. But you know what? For someone who did not like the first 2 movies and had a mild guilty pleasure enjoyment of Tokyo Drift, I think the series is at least rentable. If you're a fan of kind of car cinema, as it were, then this is probably one to go see if you like the whole big summer blockbuster fare, because it's very predictable. The acting is very stale. There's parts that downright don't make sense. I know Paul Walker's supposed to be this FBI agent, but what the hell, man? He could just punch his superiors and no one ever does anything about it. It's like, well, you get the job done so you can stay. Which, I mean, I guess makes sense in a fictional world, but really, you gotta think someone would sue him one way or another. And he does it multiple times, too. Anyway, aside from minor quibbles like that, this is not meant to be a type of movie where you look at that type of thing and pick out little flaws. This is meant just to be a fun race movie. And in that respect, it does its job. It's not amazingly fun. The story basically involves Paul Walker and Vin Diesel getting back together after the death of a mutual friend and teaming up against this Mexican drug lord. It's the best of the Fast and the Furious franchise. Again, though that isn't saying a whole lot. But I will say the movie does have a vague amount of charm to it, you know? It's one of those series where, like I said, I didn't like the first or second one, only mildly like the third one, but I have seen all 3 of them. And so now going into the 4th film, I know these characters, and it's almost giving you a sense of nostalgia with it. Vin Diesel's back. I am a big Vin Diesel fan, even though he really can't act all that well. He's got a lot of charm to him. And Paul Walker, nice to see his return. You even get a few cameos from Tokyo Drift. The same director is on from Tokyo Drift for this one, and though I can't recall the name at the moment, I do think he's going in the right direction, making things more over the top than serious, which I do think is, like I said, definitely the direction this needs to go in, because it makes it a really crowd-pleasing movie. I thought the climax was rather drawn out, and there was an odd amount of CG for the cars, which seemed really unnecessary. But most of the action was fairly competent. I gotta say, they have this kind of GPS system in the cars that they're given for these specific races, and they have this hilarious, if anyone's played the original games Cruis'n USA or any old arcade racing game, they have like the scantily clad women going go with the flags rolling up and down and all that shit. They have that shit in their GPS. And not to mention, this must be some kind of fucking futuristic GPS, because I have never seen GPS like that. Again, minor quibbles. The effects that were, even though it was a lot more CG than I was expecting, were fairly competent. You didn't notice it a lot of the time. It was noticeable a bit, but most of the good stuff was done well. Like, most of what you wanted to see was done well. Except one exception, the mines were mostly done in CG, and they look pretty bad at sometimes. I mean, like 90s video game bad. But by that point in the movie, that happens about halfway through, and by that point in the movie, you're pretty much inundated, but you know what the movie's going to be. So, getting on with the acting itself, like I said, maybe a little stale, but they play the roles to what they're expected and what audiences undoubtedly want to go see, with judging by the box office. So, if you like the acting from the previous movies, if you like Vin Diesel, you like Paul Walker, you like Michelle Rodriguez, you know what? You're gonna enjoy this. There's no problems here. There's no one that's outrageously bad, and there's no one that's incredibly over the top, with the exception of maybe Vin Diesel. But again, that was his character in the first place, so what's it to it? Lastly, the music is taking a direct shift after Tokyo Drift. Obviously, there was kind of a lot of J-pop in the last movie, whereas this movie is now more rap style, I would say, oddly enough. You'd think it'd be more rock style, considering the muscle-heavy nature of the movie, but I wasn't too bothered by it. I'm not a particularly fan of rap music, as some may know, but it didn't hurt my enjoyment of the movie. So overall, if you like the Fast and the Furious, Too Fast, Too Furious, which I still say is the dumbest name ever, and the Fast and the Furious, the Tokyo Drift, then go and check this one out if you haven't already, which you probably have. On that note, though, I want to dive into Los Bandeleros. Now, this movie, or this short movie, I suppose I should say, is very short. I don't know the exact time. I believe it was somewhere around 12 to 15 minutes long, so really not a massive amount going on here. It's advertised as the bridging gap between the previous movies and Fast and Furious, so it's a prequel of sorts. But I gotta say, it really doesn't do a whole lot. It's written and directed by Vin Diesel, which I do applaud. I mean, I think this is a great opportunity for Vin Diesel himself. I actually think they should do more things like that. You know, if popular actors want to make a short like this, then, you know, maybe give them a little money, have at it. It's a really good advertising point at the very least. Heck, maybe, you know, you could even, I don't know, air it alongside the movies after the credits or something. I don't know. Anyway, so getting on to the topic, like I said, it's just a prequel to it. Starts out with Vin Diesel still hanging out, waiting and planning the truck assault that happens at the beginning of Fast and Furious. And Michelle Rodriguez eventually joins them, and as long as he's gathering the crew that he has in Fast and Furious. Like, I find it hard to describe this movie because there really isn't a whole lot of plot. That is basically the entire plot. He has dinner, he goes to a club and gets to act all awesome. Him and Michelle Rodriguez go on a drive and have a fun time at the beach, and that's basically the end of the movie. Don't worry about spoiling anything. There really isn't much to spoil here. But I would say, you know what, if you like the Fast and Furious, or Fast and Furious, I really need a better naming scheme for this series. This is probably worth the watch. It's not amazing. In fact, it's a little slow, and I did think that the beginning portion was far too heavily edited, and nothing particularly happened. Didn't even set the scene all that well, because that could have been done rather quickly. That said, I do think there was some nice locales, especially during said Michelle Rodriguez and Vin Diesel's drive, and the beach, the locations are very nice to look at. As well, it did look very slickly produced. It wasn't quite as slickly produced as the main feature, obviously didn't have that amount of money, but considering the background of this movie, it did look very nice. The characters, they're exactly the same from the movie. There was a little more heart in Han's character, and outside of that, there's not really any kind of car sequences aside from their drive, but this drive was not risky or race at all. It was just literally a stroll. So there's really not much to say about this movie. That said, you know, like I said, if you like the movies, it's worth checking out. If you've seen the movie, it's probably worth a rental. You know, you can watch the movie again, you watch this. There does seem to be a great dearth of features on the Blu-ray at least. So other than that, like I said, check it out. It's probably worth it. It's worth to watch. If you're not a fan of the Fast and Furious series, there's absolutely no reason to watch it, unless you're a massive Vin Diesel fan. And even then, I'd still probably say I wouldn't watch it because it wouldn't make any sense. You wouldn't give a shit. So, in conclusion, Fast and Furious, that one's gonna kill me. It's an okay movie. If you like the Fast and the Furious franchise, it's a good entry. It's not the best of the series, which is saying something, but it's worth watching. It's suitable popcorn fare.